Nonetheless, Elisha flees to the town of Dothan, and there they're inside, I guess, a house. They're kind of hiding out because at this point the king's coming after him to arrest him. And we will pick up in verse 15. When the servant of the man of God got up early the next morning and went outside, there were troops, horses, and chariots everywhere. "Oh, sir, what we will do now?" the young man cried out to Elisha. Elisha then replies, "Don't be afraid," Elisha told him, "for there are more on our side than on theirs." Then Elisha prayed, "Oh Lord, open his eyes and let him see." And I highlighted that because I think we've even done a sermon on that before. And I highlighted that scripture because here we use this line in this scripture to point out about spiritual blindness, right? We talked about having spiritual blindness. And I think with anxiety, since we're on the topic of anxiety, there's many times if you're a spiritual person, if you go to church and you're a believer and you're a Christian, and yet you still suffer from anxiety, then in my opinion, you fall into that trap of having spiritual blindness. You're not relying on God's strength. You're not trusting in God, and you're falling to that trap. And so you're in the sense in spiritual blindness. You're not seeing what God has for you. You're not seeing the path that he's laid out before you. And instead you get caught up in those perceived thoughts and the perceived danger that is around you.
You know, it's interesting because in the story, right? So we talked about how the servant, all he saw was the Aramean army, and Elisha saw more than that. He saw above that, and he saw the chariots of fire, God's army that had sent, that, you know, was going to make sure that they were protected. But Elisha, it's interesting because when Elijah prayed, he didn't pray for God to change the situation. He didn't change for God to, just, you know, please remove that, you know, army or no, what he prayed for was for God to open the servant's eyes and, you know,
and close the enemy's eyes.
Exactly.
In verse 17, Elisha prayed, "Oh Lord, please make them blind."
Exactly.
So open my servant's eyes and close their eyes.
Exactly. Yeah. But see, the thing is that his only request was that his servant could see the reality of his situation, right? It wasn't to change whatever was happening, you know, so you don't need a new situation sometimes. Like you don't need to really pray for sometimes the material things or to be else, exactly. That's really not the thing here. The focus is that you pray that God open your eyes to the true reality and to remove the deceit that the enemy is trying to bring in your life, because what you feel is not always real. What you need is a new perspective. Right? The item is real. Like you might be really feeling a certain way or, you know, but the threat is only perceived because what the servant saw was a threat. And I think when we're feeling something, it's a threat. It's something that we're facing, but it's not real. It can't hurt you.